Our next segment is our multi-madness segment where we pick 5 winners head-to-head each week in a multi-bet. And after being unsuccessful in week 1, we managed to get the W in week 2. We had no losers last week. All 5 of our teams won. The 49ers, Chiefs, Cardinals, Buccaneers, and Ravens all got the job done for us. So we had a successful multi-madness last week, and we are 1-1 on the season. Now, in terms of this week, our 5 winners who we have picked, and our first one is the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are playing at home against the Dolphins on Thursday Night Football. And obviously, when you talk about the Jaguars this season, Gardner Minshew has been pretty superb at quarterback. He's, I think, obviously exceeded expectations so far this season. And another really bright spot, I think, for Jacksonville has been James Robinson, the running back, who has really stepped up and filled the shoes of, Leonard Fournette, who has departed, obviously. In terms of their defense, a lot of, obviously it's really young, and they inserted a lot of draft stock into that defense, and no one really expected to be this, no one expected to be really decent at all. And so far it's been pretty good. And rookie CJ Henderson has definitely led that defense. So based on how the Jags have played through 2 weeks, I can't see them losing at home against Miami. What about you guys?
I mean, it's tough. I think the Dolphins, they are 0-2, but they've performed pretty well. They held the Patriots to 24 points in week 1. They got 11 themselves on a pretty strong defense. So you can't really bag on them too much for that game. And they were close against the Bills. Obviously, the Bills were missing 2 of their starting linebackers, but to put up, to almost go toe-to-toe with the Bills is not an easy task, especially if their offense is playing well. You play against that great Bills defense, and you almost win the game in Buffalo as well. So, that was in Miami. Sorry, my bad. But I have been impressed with the Dolphins so far this season. Despite them not winning games, I've been impressed. But I do think the Jags get this one. They look better right now.
The second leg of our multi this week is the Tennessee Titans, who are traveling to Minnesota against the Vikings. And the Vikings have been pretty terrible so far, and even at home, I believe they're underdogs against a very good Titans team, who obviously just kind of scraped by the Jaguars, but they started 2-0, and not only Derrick Henry, but Ryan Tannehill has also looked pretty impressive on that offense. And obviously with Jadeveon Clowney now inserted into that defense, they're a pretty formidable side. What about you guys?
Yeah, I feel like this matchup, I mentioned before how the Vikings defense hasn't performed, and it's really, they've conceded a lot of third downs against the Titans, against Derrick Henry. I think this is definitely a safe option. The Vikings defense will be able to handle Derrick Henry at all. I don't see how. I wish I could say this would be a close game, but I don't see the Vikings being able to match what the Titans will be able to do in offense. The issue for the Vikings hasn't just been on defense. I think in a matchup like this, the offense will definitely be tested. Kirk Cousins didn't perform very well against the Colts, and I don't think against a better opposition than Titans, it won't get any easier.
The third leg of our multi, we have chosen the Los Angeles Chargers, who are at home against the Carolina Panthers. And I think there's an argument to be made that the Chargers should be 2-0 after 2 weeks. But either way, they've played some pretty good football through 2 weeks and should be able to topple a Christian McCaffrey-less Panthers team, especially at home. I really don't think it matters too much who the quarterback is for the Chargers. I feel like their defense mainly will get the job done. What do you think, Arif?
Yeah, I really liked your point there, Jack, about Christian McCaffrey not playing. Obviously, he suffered that high ankle sprain against the Buccaneers. He'll be out for about 4 to 6 weeks. And during that period, I don't really see them winning many games, no matter who they're playing. He's that guy on offense. He's that X factor. He can keep them in games, as he did in week 1 against the Raiders. Without him there, I don't see how they're going to fire up. Obviously, we can't really take anything away from the Chargers. I mean, this is this is a good defense, as you mentioned as well. They are going to really frustrate Teddy Bridgewater, and I think they get the win fairly comfortably.
Yeah, I agree. Especially as you mentioned, Chargers defense, that defensive line, I'd say, is one of the best, if not the best, in the league. They were able to pressure Mahomes all game last week, and if you hold, as a defense as a whole, if you hold the Chiefs to 23 points in overtime, imagine what they're going to do to the Panthers without McCaffrey. I think this is going to be an easy game for the Chargers defense. I think Chargers offense is more than capable to score enough points to beat the Panthers.
I agree with you guys. On to our second last leg of this week's multi, and we've picked the Colts, who are playing at home against the Jets. And I think based on last week's win against the Vikings, the Colts are starting to hit their strides. And Philip Rivers, despite he's thrown another interception last week, I think he's starting to get more acquainted with this Indianapolis offense and playing under Frank Reich. So I do feel like him and that offense will get the job done against a pretty bad Jets side who, we have, as we've talked about, have that weak defense. And, Darnold doesn't have much help. I don't really like, in fact, I don't like Adam Gase as a head coach. I don't think he's helped Darnold at all. The Jets are just in a pretty bad spot overall, and I really don't think the Colts will lose this game. Onto the last leg of this week's multi, and we have picked the Chiefs, who are playing at Baltimore. And obviously, this is probably our risky pick of the week, but we do believe in the Chiefs, and they present as really good value at $2.60. I think they will be able to get over the Ravens, even in Baltimore. That Chiefs offense is pretty unstoppable. Even a really formidable defense in the Chargers couldn't get the job done, even after leading. So I can't see the Ravens defense slowing down that Chiefs offense enough to be able to get the win.
My biggest concern with this one is the fact that the Chargers really dominated in the run game against that Chiefs defense. They really controlled the clock. I think in the third quarter, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the Chiefs only had 2 minutes of possession in the third quarter. So I wonder how the Ravens are going to approach this. Are they going to try to dominate them on the ground? And if so, will the Chiefs be able to do what they did against the Chargers and come back from behind and maybe force overtime and win it at the last minute?
That's a really good point, Emilien, because as you talked about, Austin Eckler and Joshua Kelly were pretty prominent features of that Chargers offense last week against the Chiefs, and they were able to get, make a lot of kind of splash plays against that Chiefs defense. And you'd think, with Lamar Jackson, the dual threat, and Mark Ingram, that they'd have an even tougher time on the ground against the Ravens. So I think we should expect, better output from that Kansas City defense. That is our multi for week 3. Hopefully we can get the job done for a second week in a row. Obviously, if you guys are planning to put on a multi or a bet yourselves, we do encourage you to everyone to gamble responsibly. On to our next segment, and that is Emilien's team to watch. Emilien, take it away.
Thanks, Jack. So as I said before earlier in this episode, last week I had the Las Vegas Raiders as my team to watch. They were playing the Saints, and they came out with a shock victory in the grand opening of Allegiant Stadium. I was very impressed. I think their offense, as I said before, looked really good. Derek Carr said he wanted to prove himself. He wanted to prove that he's tired of being disrespected. He wanted to prove he is a good quarterback, and I think he's a good quarterback. Not great. I don't think he's great yet. I think it'll take some time, but he definitely looked comfortable against a pretty tough Saints defense. So very happy with that Raiders victory. On to my team to watch this week, and this is a team that has, I'd say, flown under the radar going into this season, but they look good, and that is the Los Angeles Rams. They've had 2 big wins against the Cowboys and Eagles in consecutive weeks, one of which was in Philly, so not an easy environment to play in, even without the fans there. But the run game looks strong. Obviously, the loss of Cam Akers is big, but Darrell Henderson did look really good once he started playing a bit more. Obviously, Malcolm Brown, he played really well in week 1 against the Cowboys. So looking out for the Rams there. This week, they're playing the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo. So this is going to be a very tough test. They're playing, obviously, the strongest defense that they faced this season, coming up against a really strong front seven. Obviously, receivers, Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods, are going to have to find a way to deal with Tre'Davious White, who I believe is the second best cornerback in the league. So also on the defensive side, I think the Bills' offense look good, but it's going to be definitely a test for Josh Allen to really throw well against Jalen Ramsey, who's going to be covering most likely Stephon Diggs, I'd assume. And also, you can never count Aaron Donald out. He's going to be all over Josh Allen, I reckon. So very interested to see how the Rams perform this week. Let's see how they go.